Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Coach Carney will begin with the opening statement and then open up to questions.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks everyone for being here. Obviously a disappointing loss at Oklahoma. Not the result we were looking for. Difficult environment against a really, really good defense, a really good team. I thought for the most part, guys played really, really hard. From an effort perspective, have a couple things we got to get cleaned up. Credit to Michael Hawkins keeping his eyes down the field on their long touchdown there. Had a pressure we thought would get home and affect him, and it did, and didn't make the play to get him on the ground. Used some motion to get some confused eyes, and kid made a great play. On the long touchdown early there, but defense settled in at the end of the first, or at the in the first half, and forced some field goals, which is a win, for us. But offensively, got to be better. Again, difficult defense to move the ball against, but got to find ways to be efficient. I thought Devin Cargman, in his first action of the year, handled himself really well. Obviously, the couple turnovers there, to start the third quarter. When the game got away from us there, and we made the move. But I thought Devin played well in his first action. Excited to put the non-conference schedule to bed and focus our attention on MAC play.
Coach, I know Drew DeShields did not play. He was listed as out against Oklahoma. Do you have any update for us?
Yeah, hamstring with Drew. He's day-to-day right now. If anyone knows how to attack rehab, it's Drew DeShields. Late in the week had a tweak in his hamstring, and when you're an athletic, mobile quarterback, and that's part of your game is moving around in the pocket. That it was concerning for us. So decided to hold him, and Dev had a great week of practice and earned the opportunity to go in there.
How do you try and recreate some of those pressures? Because it seemed like you got the most pressure, despite it being Oklahoma, than you did all year with those linebackers in that D line.
Yeah, I thought Coach Key and the defensive staff, had a great game plan. Backup quarterback for Oklahoma in his first start of the season. I'm sure played into it a little bit, but I thought the defensive staff did a great job of preparing the guys. Playing the guys the way they did, and affected the quarterback. It's hard. It can be hard in those power games to influence the QB, but I thought our front seven did an outstanding job.
How do you try and balance the running back room? Gavin had started most of the year, but now you have Jordan Newman back. How do you plan to go about those reps?
Yeah, that's a position. Running back's a position where you need more than one. To get Jordan Newman back going was helpful for us. That two-headed monster is going to be something special to deal with here as we get going for MAC play.
Last question I have for you, Coach. Any further update on the other guys that were listed as out, specifically Dusty?
Yeah, Dusty's, again, day-to-day, very similar to Drew, out of the boot that he was in, for the last couple weeks and progressing well. He'll probably be a game-time decision, but he's a guy with the amount of competitive reps he's gotten that, even if he doesn't practice until Thursday or Friday, you feel good about his ability to go in and affect the game.
Okay. Rob, any questions for Coach?
Yeah, Coach, can you tell us about UMass? Obviously new to the league. It's been about 10 years, I believe, since we played them. I know they haven't won a game, but what can you tell us about UMass offensively, defensively? What are some of the concerns?
Yeah, new staff. Joe Harrisimiak. He and I got to know each other a little bit at MAC Media Day. He's a really good coach. Has been an outstanding defensive coordinator for a long time. Rutgers, Minnesota. Very, very sound, very, very disciplined in their scheme defensively. Coordinator on offense is Mike Bajakian. Spent some time at Cincinnati and at Central Michigan. With those staffs, has always done a really good job of putting his guys in a position to be successful. I know they haven't won a game to this point, but we've been there. We understand what those feelings are like in that locker room, and this is a hungry group, right? To get their first win on the board and Joe's coaching them hard, and that staff's coaching them hard in the right way, and disciplined. You know, they've turned the ball over a little bit. You know, they've battled really hard in every single game that they've been in. You know, it's going to be a challenge. You know, we're going to need our full complement. You know, of players to compete in this game, and you know, anytime you get a start to homecoming and kind of, you know, end non-conference play and transition to now conference play, it's you know, it's exciting, and there's a energy and excitement in our locker room. So looking forward to the challenge, and you know, excited to watch our guys compete.
You kind of answered my next one with that, so let me change that. What did you learn about the team now that you're through the non-conference? Now that those guys got through that, what did you learn about your team that you didn't know, you know, going into that gauntlet?
Yeah, you know, how together we could stay through adversity. You know, that was a challenge in the past, and you know, I think we've demonstrated that, you know, no matter what gets thrown at us, you know, whether it's a top 5 team or you know, a highly picked team in our conference, preseason ranked team in our conference, you know, we believe we can compete with anybody, and the togetherness of this football team has been really impressive.
You know, the offensive line against, you know, Oklahoma, you're facing a team that defensively had sacked Auburn like 9 times. What did you think of your group overall on the O-line? I thought, you know, considering who they were playing, I know you gave up the strip sack, but.
Yeah, I think, you know, we're figuring out who we are and have figured out who we are. You know, I think the sacks that you know, we gave up on Saturday was more a product of, you know, not helping the tackles in situations where we should have. You know, I think 3 sacks were, you know, on quick game, empty type of protections. And, you know, we got beat in one-on-one situations. And, you know, the true freshman, Tyler Meadows, is battling his tail off. But, you know, there's going to be some win some, lose some in those situations, especially against the top 5 opponent. But they're competing their tails off. We've got to find consistency in our run game. You know, and I'm, you know, I'm excited to do that as we get into conference play here. And, you know, the front sevens of, you know, the top 25 in the country in college football right now are really, really good. And you know, when you're a developmental unit, you know, those guys present extra challenges. So excited about the way our guys have competed and grown to this point, and looking forward to putting our best on tape this weekend.
My last one for you, Coach, is a little bit of a follow-up with the running game. How important is it to get that going now that we're back into conference play? And are you concerned, you know, about that group? Not
concerned, not at all. No, it's very important to get you know, some continuity, some consistency in the run game. You know, we've utilized a bunch of different schemes. You know, whether it's zone, inside or outside, counter. You know, some sweep stuff. You know, we've put a lot on tape for people to defend. And that was by design, right? You know, be as multiple as we can through the first bunch of games, and now we're into conference. We can settle into, you know, who we truly are and feel pretty confident about the matchups.
Thanks, Coach, and good luck.
Absolutely, thanks, Rob.
Any other questions for Coach? All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, guys, appreciate it.